Hey everyone, this is David Nail. My new album, Fighter, comes out today. I want to thank you for grabbing a copy, and most importantly, thanks to Cody Allen and CMT for having me on to talk about the album and answer your questions. Let's start with the very first question, and these are great, by the way. Annie from Norfolk asked, if I took you out to karaoke night, name 3 songs that you would blow us away with. Now, blow us away, that's a little tricky. My idea of karaoke is you pick the most difficult song, because karaoke you can get away with anything and sound bad. So I'd probably pick the silliest songs. I would pick a New Kids on the Block song of some sort, an NSYNC song of some sort, and then my ultimate favorite karaoke song is September by Earth, Wind and Fire, just because it's extremely high and ridiculously difficult to sing. Yarden from Fort Lauderdale asked, and I believe I have met you several times, what's your favorite song to sing live and why? It changes every day. I've always said this is like having a favorite child. You're not really allowed to at least more than a day. And now that I have children and 2 at the same time, I'm not allowed to favor one or the other. So, today it could be one song and tomorrow it could be the next. But I'd say one of the most consistent songs that we have right now is either Fighter, the title track of the new record, or The Sound of Me in Dreams, which we usually unveil on special occasions. But I've been fortunate enough to have, I feel like, some great songs that always kind of get me a little fired up. Blaine from Omaha asked, what theater did you shoot the album cover at? That is actually the theater in my hometown of Kennett, Missouri. And I really dislike photo shoots. They're extremely uncomfortable. I always say that I'm a singer, not a model. And so I always try to find the most comfortable place possible. And so I felt like for this record, especially given the songs, that my hometown would be the perfect place. And I grew up in a small town in southeast Missouri called Kennett, Missouri. Lindsay from Raleigh asked, what would you say is the greatest thing about your fan base? I think the thing that excites me the most about them is the fact that it seems like with each and every year we gain more and more people, and that next year you see some of those same people from the year before, and we've got people, a lot of the people that run, or the people that run Nail Nation for us are 3 sisters out of Sacramento that came to the very first time we ever went out west. So that's really the thing that I enjoy the most, is the fact that you do it kind of from a grassroots. You get people out, hopefully you do a good job, hopefully people dig what they hear, and it makes them want to spread the word and continue to come out. Erica from Grand Forks asked, how many childhood friends do you still hang out with? Do they ever travel with you? This is literally my favorite question I've ever been asked. I hang out with a few, mainly based on just the fact that I live in Nashville, they live back home or somewhere far away. And it also depends on what you mean by childhood, whether that's college or early childhood. I had 4 best men when I was married, and 2 of them were from my hometown, Matt Bodkins and Chris Sledge, and they are my 2 oldest friends in the world. And Bodkins has never traveled with me for some odd reason. I guess he's scared. But Sledge has traveled with me he actually went this past year to the ACM Awards in Vegas. He's been to a few of the celebrity softball games I've been at. So I guess the answer is 2 to 4, and yes, kind of. Nord from, I hope I pronounced this right, Chongqing, China asks, what's your favorite part of working in country music? If you got the chance to be a baseball player, would you still keep your job as a singer? I definitely would, because as a much better singer, I feel like I'm a much better singer than I'm a baseball player. And my favorite part of working in country music is just the fans are a large part of it, but I love to travel. I grew up in a very small town in Kennett, Missouri, and I never traveled much as a kid. So I really, really enjoy the travel and getting to see new places and form favorite places and meet people from all sorts of different places, walks of life, demographics, and just kind of learning about hypothetically what it would be like if I lived there or grew up there. Lexi from Pittsburgh asked, what is something you have learned in your music career that you have been able to apply to being a new dad? My wife would argue with me. She would say, I haven't learned this very well, but patience, I would say. I've needed to be patient several times over the course of my career, and I would say multiply that times 1,000 in regards to being a parent. It's, I think it's just human nature. You want to fix every problem, and you want to, when my kids are crying, I want to figure out a way right away that calms them down, and sometimes evidently they just like to cry. There's no specific reason why. So I would say patience is a thing that are somewhat parallel between the two. Mary Grace from Chicago asked, will there be a fighter tour? I am extremely positive that there will be one. We're in the process of figuring that all out. The fact that I had twins this past December, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out how to get, our road legs and how much time is appropriate to be away from home, how much time do you need to be at home. So I'm pretty sure there will be some sort of a fighter tour. It will just be a matter of how long we stay out and how many places we get to go. Cruz from Clear Lake asked, what is your favorite show you have performed at and why? That's impossible to say. It's a lot like the question I asked earlier or answered earlier about having favorite kids. You're not really allowed to. I would probably say that, and I don't know if this would be considered a show, but the first time and only time we did Leno and the first and only time we did Letterman, those were both two really big shows, because you could call the people back home and say, hey, we're going to be on Letterman, we're going to be on Leno. And even the people back home realize the significance of that. I can say I'm playing so-and-so stadium or in front of 50,000 people somewhere, and if they don't really have necessarily a connection with that, it really doesn't mean as much to them. But to be able to know that they can go on the television and tune in to, at 11 o'clock and you're going to be performing on their TV screen, that's a big deal. So I would definitely say the times we've been a part of late night television. Val from Kansas City, I'm assuming that's Kansas City, how are you at writing liner notes? Do you have a set list of people to thank, or does it change? Well, it changed from the standpoint of people at the record label change all the time, so I want to make sure and thank every person that helps us out, because everybody from the front desk person to the president of the label has a job, and they all help us out in some way, shape, or form. There are different people. My band members have changed over time, so you have to kind of obviously put the new ones in, and radio tends to change. But obviously my immediate family you want to thank. And I also realized after the second record that you probably didn't need to treat every liner note like it was going to be your last, and thank every Joe Schmo who you've ever met along the way that said hello, because my first liner notes, that's definitely what I did. So I don't have a set list, but there are definitely people that you have to thank and need to thank. Chris from St. Louis, and this is, what would we find in a snack drawer on the tour bus? I have the healthiest bunch of band guys in the world. So there's a lot of Kind bars, and I guess this contradicts that statement because it's not exactly healthy, but I have guys that love jalapeno chips of any shape, form, brand, and they will they'll try every one under the sun, and all it needs to be is hot. Hot is the new in. Lois, I had an Aunt Lois, and this is the last question we have. Where do most of the songs you write come from? The long bus rides, your dressing room, or hanging out at home? I've actually never written a song on a bus ride, and I've never written a song in a dressing room. They have all come from either my house, wherever I was living at the time, or a writer's room here in Nashville where I was set up with a co-writer, and we met at 10, 11 a.m. to write a song. So maybe someday when I get I guess, cooler, I learned to write songs on a bus and other places that you hear a lot of these superstars write songs at. All right, thank y'all so much for sending in such a wide range of questions for my very first Ask Anything Chat. And I want to thank Cody again and CMT for supporting Fighter and for always supporting me and my music.